everyone, at last I am back after a bit of a lazy summer, but more about that at the end of the video. I have been busy creating, and this is a catch-up page from my journal series 12 Journals of 2016, and this is my March page. And as you may or may not know, I've been creating journal pages based on Tim Holtz's 12 tags of 2016. I've been playing along for quite a few years now, and I decided that I had way too many tags, so I've decided to create and still play along with Tim and take all of his gorgeous tutorials and techniques and use his inspiration to create journal pages. So this is Tim's tag, and I'm going to be turning that into a journal page. So I'm going to be using the doilies to give me the texture on the bottom layer of this page, and I've got some white corrugated rather than the brown corrugated card that Tim used. So if you've watched these tutorials before, you know that I'm making journal pages. And you may also know that I'm quite far behind, hence this is my March page. But just so you can see exactly what I'm creating, I'm going to give you a quick flick through of what I've got so far, if I can sort them out. So they're all based on Tim's 12 tags of 2016. So whatever he's done has inspired me to create the pages that I've made. So that was January's page and tag. And you can see the tag that he created is attached to the back of my tag. I'm still making tags, but they're inserted between the pages. And that page was February. Each of my tags has got a memory on one side and Tim Holtz's original inspiration on the other side. So I'm going to be creating March, and then I've got April, and then I did May, which is this blue one here. So you can see I've got a few missing. This one was June, and then I've still got to catch up with July, August and September. So I'm not promising, but you might see a couple of extra videos to help me catch up with making this journal. And you can see each of the pages will eventually join together, and I will show you a little bit of that as we work our way through this video. So I'm starting out, my pages all measured 10¼ inches by 7 inches, and then I am marking a 5-inch score line, first of all marking from the left and then from the right. All of my pages start out the same. I use different colours of cardstock depending on where I think I'm going with the colour scheme. You can see that I've got a nice 1/4 inch gusset which will help me join the pages to the spine of the book when I come to complete this and put it all together, but it also gives me plenty of room for embellishments on each of my pages. So that's my page base ready, and I want to create texture. Now Tim did his texture using die cuts, but I'm going to be using a doily because I haven't really got a suitable die in order to create the texture that I'm looking for. Working out the best way to get the most texture onto each of my pages, and I've decided just to take a little sliver off each of my 2 doilies, and then I'm ready to stick them to the page using matte medium. So Ranger Matte Medium is a kind of glue, and it's great for decoupaging elements onto your mixed media work. So I'm starting out by putting down a layer of the matte medium and then sandwiching the doily and making sure it's well stuck down with a second layer on top. You can see I'm avoiding the actual gusset area just to make sure that I'm able to fold this once I've added that layer of corrugated card on top. So I'm just avoiding that little area and sticking down my doily. So it's worth taking time to make sure you get that matte medium everywhere and to make sure that you add that extra layer on top. That makes sure it's well stuck down and ready for you to add your paint in the next step. So as well as making a page, I also make a tag, and this tag measures 6 inches 5¼ inches, and I'm just going to cut this doily in half and add it to the bottom of the tag, and I've cut a strip of the corrugated card which I'm going to add to the top of the tag. This time I need to do it on both sides of the tag, so I'm adding the layer of matte multi-medium and then sandwiching it with that second layer. And then I'm going to use my heat tool, as I've got to flip this over, to dry off the glue. And then it's on to the opposite side to add texture to the reverse of the tag. Now, bearing in mind that a lot of this tag will be covered up by, one, the photograph of Tim's original tag, and two, of whatever I decide to put on this card. I've been choosing a memory for each of the months that I'm creating pages for, and I kind of wait until the inspiration strikes me, so you won't actually see me add photos to this one, but I will show you as I come up with my inspiration and add them to my tags. But at the end of the year, they should be quite a nice collection of memories as well as artwork once I put this journal together. So I'm really hoping to inspire you. If you've made lots and lots of tags and you could do with still playing along with this challenge and wanting to do something a little bit different, then you could create journal pages based on Tim Holtz's original designs. So this time Tim is combining two inspirations himself. He's looking back through his old tags, picking out two tags and taking techniques from each of those tags and then using them as inspiration. So wherever you look, you'll find lots and lots of things that can inspire you to make all sorts of different art projects. So once everything's nice and dry, you can trim off all those extra pieces of doily, and some of the bigger pieces it's worth keeping because you might want them on other pieces of mixed media work. So if you check out Tim's tag this month, he used a die cut in order to create his texture, and then he used his new distress crayons to add colour to that textured layer. I'm going to be using distress paints as I don't have any of those distress crayons just yet. And you can see here I start out by adding some wild honey and antique linen, which I'm just cleaning off here because I've put it over green. And I actually don't really need that cream colour. I was thinking I just wanted to make this sort of quite patchy, but in the end, because of the way I decide to reveal the texture, it was better for me to go with a darker layer of the wild honey distress paint. So I'm just making sure I'm working that colour and blending that colour over that textured surface. So smoothing things out with my finger. And as I started to reveal the texture, I realised those darker areas are the areas that are really standing out. So all I'm doing is using a piece of kitchen paper or kitchen roll or paper towel and then I am removing the paint from the surface of the doily, and every now and again I just dampen the paper towel slightly, and that helps me remove more of that paint. So you don't let the paint dry completely, but you gently wipe with the paper towel over the surface of the doily. So it's quite light, I'm not pressing very hard, and you can see I added a bit more of the wild honey there just because that was the lightest side and the texture wasn't revealing quite as nicely. And you keep working, keep slightly dampening that kitchen roll and rubbing over the surface of the doily, and you will reveal all of that beautiful texture. So a little bit less of the antique linen this time, keeping it a little bit darker, making sure it's all nice and smooth, and then the magic, just rubbing over lightly with a piece of kitchen paper while the paint is still wet. And if it's a little bit stubborn, then just slightly dampen your kitchen roll or paper towel and remove and reveal that lovely texture. So you can do this with acrylic paints, you can do it with gelatos, and you could do it with the distress crayons as well. So they give you that base colour, and then you're going to remove some of that paint just by lightly rubbing over the doily with, you can see I've removed quite a lot of the paint here, so sometimes if it comes off too quickly, it could be that you just give that paint a couple of seconds to settle, and make sure your paper towel isn't too wet. But once you've mastered this technique, you'll be able to use this on lots and lots of your projects, and it really is a nice way to add texture to your pieces. So because the tops of my tags are the pieces that show once these tags are in the pockets, I'm adding some detail and obviously mirroring some of the design that will be on the page by adding just slightly under an inch, 3/4 of an inch strip of the corrugated card, and then I've trimmed a piece of white corrugated card to the same size as my page. Now Tim at this point used a butterfly die to take away some butterfly shapes and reveal the texture underneath on his page. And once again, it's all about looking at the different techniques, and sometimes you don't have the things that Tim used. In fact, quite often lately I don't seem to have what Tim's used, so I'm obviously in need of a shop for some of his new products. But I think sometimes as well it's what makes your artwork your own, because although I'm doing something based on his design, it's very much dependent on the things that I actually have, and obviously sort of my taste and my take on things that makes my piece unique at the end of this little journey. So I've decided, because I haven't got any dies and punches really wouldn't go over this corrugated card, I'm going to freehand this, and I'm going to cut out lots and lots of different sized flowers. So I'm starting out with the bigger flowers and removing them with my craft knife. Be a little bit careful that you don't slip, and take your time and remove those petals one by one. Now you may find that as you do this, the thinner points of where the petals are removed and come into the centre of the flower, you may get a little bit of separation between that corrugated layer and the flat layer of paper that's underneath. So you can either glue these as you go, and you can see how this is going to reveal the texture of my page underneath, or you can wait till you finish cutting and then just gently go around each of your little flowers and check those little points and glue down where anything is coming away. I'm speeding this portion up because it takes me a little while to cut out all of these flowers, and I'm kind of doing an arch of flowers along that bottom left hand corner, and then a few in the top right hand corner, and you'll see why as we get closer to finishing the page. And you can see I started out with some bigger flowers, and then I'm filling in with some slightly smaller ones, and then keep cutting until you're happy with the amount of surface you've removed and how much of that bottom layer that you reveal. You don't have to use flower shapes, you could use hearts, you could use something simple to cut out. Obviously, if you're doing it freehand like me, you could quite easily do butterflies. So it really is about the things that you like and the design that you like. This is all about looking at different techniques that you could use and adapt to suit your style. So that's my second layer. Now Tim did distress this layer quite a lot. He did rip away part of that corrugated surface, and that does look nice, but I don't think it's going to suit the style of what I have in mind. I'm kind of going gently distressed, not full Tim Holtz distressed. Now, first of all, I started to see if I could add some grey. This is Hickory Smoke Distress ink, and I wanted to highlight the edges of those flowers. I started out with a little sponge applicator, but that wasn't working, so I've abandoned that in favour of a little brush. And I'm not trying to be too precise, but I just want a little bit of shading around the edges of each of those flowers, and that will give me definition around the edges once this is in place on top of that orange layer. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm also going to go all the way around the edge just to frame the page. And the other thing that Tim did to distress his corrugated layer was to splatter it with different colours of distress stain, and I'm going to do the same kind of thing, but I'm going to be using distress ink. So that's my last flower, and we need to do the same around the edge of the corrugated strip on the tag. So I'm just going around that outside edge, adding a little scrap to stop it going onto the orange part of the tag using a piece of scrap cardboard. And you can see I'm not trying to be too particular, just highlighting that edge slightly. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is reveal a little bit more of that lovely orange layer. So I've decided to rip that central or slightly upper section that didn't have any flowers on it, and the reason that I'm doing that is because that's where I'm going to put my quote, as well as revealing more of that lovely doily texture. So once I'm happy with how much I've ripped away, I'm going to again highlight that edge and add some splatter. So first of all, with the hickory smoke, you can see I'm just spreading some of the ink onto my messy mat, then adding some water, and then tapping the brush so that it flicks ink over the surface of the corrugated card. And I'm doing that same process using Spice Marmalade and Wild Honey Distress Inks. So plenty of water, and you can see I'm tapping it against a pen or any hard surface rather than your finger, unless you want to end up with a sore finger at the end of all the splattering. And then again, I need to cover up with some scraps of card the main part of the tag in order to add that same splatter to the little strip at the top of the card. And then flipping it over and repeating on the other side. So far we've got the hickory smoke, we've got the wild honey and the spice marmalade. We're just going to add a little bit of black soot. It actually doesn't look too hugely different to the hickory smoke, but it is just slightly darker in the splatters that it creates. And because I'm going to be using some black thread to stitch some detail onto this design, I wanted a little bit of black splatter on my design. Just inking the edges where I tore that corrugated card, and then I'm going to attach the two layers together. So take a little bit of time when you're doing this, even though this is speeded up. I am making sure that I get into all those little points that the flowers have created to make sure that they are really stuck down well. And particularly on this piece, you can see I'm going around each of those flowers in turn, making sure I take the glue down into those little points, as well as going right round the edge of the whole piece. So you do need to work quite quickly, and I know this is speeded up, but particularly if you're in a warm room, if you're not careful, your glue can be dry if you're a little bit slow at putting that glue on. You could do half a page at a time if you found that you were having that trouble. So making sure those two layers are nicely sandwiched together, and then I'm going to be adding some stitching. So I'm going to wait for that to dry, and I will be back once I've got busy with my sewing machine. So you can see here I've been right round my tag with some stitching, and I have added the picture of Tim's tag. I haven't yet put my photo memory because I don't know what it's going to be yet. I've also stitched right around the edge of the piece of card and also around each of those flowers, and it did take me a little while, but I think it's worth it. It looks like I've doodled around each of those flowers, just gives it nice definition. And I've got some little black punched flowers that I'm adding to those flower centres. So I'm going to be doing that on the larger flowers, and then I'm going to be adding some gems. So I've just shaped those flowers slightly, and now I'm adding an iridescent black gem for the flower centres, and the smaller flowers are just getting a little gem in the middle. So using my Cosmic Shimmer glue to put all those pieces in and hold them in position. So the other thing that I wanted to show you on this page, although I have showed it to you on previous pages, was the fact that we have to create a little channel at the back for our tags. But as I said, I managed to do that off camera, forgot to switch the camera on, so I'm going to show you one, how I'm going to put this together, and two, how to make this little channel. So I've added this extra sort of U shape of card to the back of each of my pages as I've created them, and that's going to allow me to join the pages together. So when you decide to do this, you need to make sure that everything is really nicely lined up. It might be worth taking your tag out just in case you get that caught in, so definitely make sure, if you've left it in like I have, that you can still pull it in and out before that glue sets. So you can see how I'm making sure I'm pressing down nice and firm to make sure those two pages join together and that the tag is free moving. So that was January, and this is February joining on to March, and you can see how this is going to build up. But I'm going to show you on this one, which is May's page, exactly how to make that little U shape that just gives us enough room to easily slide our tags in and out. So I've cut some 1/4 inch strips of card, and I'm just going to cut them to length as I stick them down. Make sure that you avoid the very bottom where that fold is. So I'm just coming in about a millimetre, maybe 2 millimetres with that strip, and I'm adding 3 strips of card in total. You could choose to use a thin chipboard if you wanted to, in which case you'd probably only need 1 strip. And then I'm going to do exactly the same along the top and bottom edges. So I'm just trimming them to fit and adding the same 3 layers, and you can see again I've just left between 1 millimetre and 2 millimetres clear of the edge of the page. So each of my pages has these little channels, and that will allow me to join the pages together and still have plenty of room to move those tags in and out. Although I can't join May to the first 2 pages, I can join May to June. So I'm going to do that. So that's where the tag's going to sit. And I can join May and June together. And you can see how very, very different these pages are. And it really is going to be great to flick through this and have a look at all the different techniques that you've tried and all the different ideas that you've had, all as a result of looking at whatever Tim's inspiration is for that particular month. I really do like combining a sort of a scrapbooking ethos with my art journaling, so that each of those little tags will also have a little memory attached, as well as all the artwork that I've had fun with each month. Well, not exactly each month, because I have to say I've been a bit busy this year, and I haven't been quite as dedicated to this or at least manage to find enough time to do this regularly each month. I'm having fun catching up now. So now it's time to finish off my March page with a little quote and of course the date. I'm going to be using these Tim Holtz little letter stickers. I find these really useful, and they're going to feature throughout these pages as I've used them for the date on each of the tags. So many of you may think like me that art is good for you, and so I'm going to just sort of slightly play with a traditional quote, which is an apple a day keeps the doctor away, and I'm going to say a creation a day keeps the doctor away. Because I know whenever I'm feeling a bit off, a bit stressed, a bit miserable, or just need some time to myself, I can guarantee that when I've been in here making art, that I come out feeling much better. So a creation a day keeps, you can see I'm just adding the glue just as extra security to make sure that none of my letters fall off in the future when this little journal is flicked through. Keeps the doctor away. And I can actually glue that down and attach it to my February page. So adding the glue to the U shape and joining the pages together, making sure that those edges, those gussets, all line up nicely, because that will make it much easier for me to be able to put this into a cover once I've made all my pages at the end of the year. So now all I need to do is add a date to my tag. I will add a photograph later, and I will share them with you as I put those onto the tags. But for now I'm going to add the little pull to the top of the tag and also the date. You can see how very different all of these pages are. And this time I'm going to use a punch. I've punched out 2 flowers, very similar shape to what I've been using on the page itself. And again, taking out my brush, I'm just treating this exactly the same way as I did the corrugated card on the actual page and on the tag. So inking the edges first with the hickory smoke, and then I'm going to do a little bit of splatter. And then I'm just going to glue 1 flower on the front, just lifting that up slightly, and then another one on the back, and that should be sturdy enough to be able to use this to pull the tag in and out of the pocket. And again, adding the little black flower centre and another little gem, 1 on each side. If I can get the gem to stick. And there we go, all ready for my memory when I think of one that I want to record. And then last but not least, I'm going to add the date, which is March 2016. So I have got April still to go, July, August, and of course this month's, which is September. And if you want to have a go at this, either to make tags or to make journal pages, then please pop along to Tim Holtz's blog, and you'll see each month he posts a new tag to inspire you. And I hope that you've enjoyed watching me go from Tim's inspiration to my interpretation. So you may have noticed I've been a little bit quiet this month on the video front, in fact very quiet, and this is one of the reasons why. And I've been helping my mum decorate her house, and we have finished her bedroom, and that's looking rather lovely in greys and yellows. We also are part way through her front room, or a lounge depending on what you like to call it. So we've taken out an old brick fireplace. You can see that's it all finished. We had to take off all the old wallpaper, which was a nightmare, but we got there in the end. And then my mum had the actual walls plastered because they were a bit old, and here they are looking gorgeous and with their first coat of paint, lovely and smooth. And this is the colour scheme we're going for. I'll show you a bit more of that when it gets finished, but we've got a fireplace going in and a carpet going in next week, so it's almost there, and she's looking forward to being able to sit down. So as well as wearing my painter and decorator hat and helping my mum spend her money on gorgeous fixtures and fittings, I've also been doing a little spot of upcycling. I bought this chair quite a while ago and finally have got round to revamping it, so it's looking lovely in my bedroom now. And I've also been working on some stuff for Callum. So we had this old IKEA couch, a little bit of fabric later, and I have to say I recommend this to anyone. If you've got this couch, it's really easy to take apart and cover, and even though I'm not professional, I think it looks pretty good, if I do say so myself. And I do have to say this is probably the one and only time this couch will look this pristine, because normally it's used as a cupboard. A little while ago I shared with you a upcycle project that I did with this little dresser. I'll just remind you of it. I haven't done it this month, I did it a couple of months ago, and it was already being used in my son's room. You can see I went for a real chalkboard effect, and all these words are to do with the holiday that we had in New York, so it's a bit of an heirloom piece as well. And I had this little chest to put beside his bed, but it's taken me a little while to get round to it, as normal, but eventually I've made it match, and you can see exactly the same style, and a little bit of fun with the words so he can hide all his bits of junk away. It doesn't sit here on the carpet, but I just wanted to show you the two pieces together. So you can see I've still been keeping creative, but just in a slightly different way. So that was my summer. I hope you've had a fabulous one and that you've had great weather. We've had some sunshine here in the UK, which is quite nice. And of course I promised to update you on the giveaway that I ran on my last video, and that was won by Lonnie. So she's got her stamps now over there in the USA. Big thank you to Bibby once again for sponsoring this giveaway. So that's it from me, except to say I hope you've enjoyed my journey from Tim Holtz's inspiration to my interpretation, and that you feel inspired to get creative yourself. I look forward to sharing some more videos with you very soon, perhaps some more journal pages. Thank you for watching. Almost forgot to say, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and most importantly the share button, so that we can share that creativity all over the globe. Don't you just love the internet? And of course I'm sharing a couple of links with you. So this first link will take you to the playlist for my 12 journals of 2016. Lots of different styles, lots of different techniques. I'm sure you'll find inspiration in amongst those pages. And also, if you know anything about my videos, you'll know there are tons and tons of tag videos. Again, so many different styles, all inspired by Tim's 12 tags of 20, whatever year it happens to be. These ones are 2014, and I'm sharing that playlist with you. But you'll also find other years to interest you in amongst all of my video playlists. So what to do with all those tags? Why not pop along to my Etsy shop, where you can buy a workshop to show you how to make some tag storage. Gorgeous storage that can sit on your desk, hold all your beautiful artwork, and make sure that whenever you want a little bit of inspiration, you can just flick through your tags and find something to inspire you. You can create them in any style you want to suit your taste. So these are available from my Etsy shop.